Welcome back to the Chattable podcast, where we learn real English in real life, enrich vocabulary, and feel proud. So today, our mission is to explore how physical, everyday objects from our past, things we used to literally twist and turn and write on, have shaped the way we talk about the complex journeys of our lives today.
Yeah, exactly. The whole premise here is that these sources give us two incredibly vivid phrases that deal with life's trajectory, specifically how we finish our journeys and how we start over.
Right, because we need physical anchors to talk about abstract concepts.
I mean, we really do. We map physical actions to our life paths.
So let's jump straight into the first phrase. I was reading through the sources, and there's this great story about a teenager from a rough neighborhood in Brooklyn. And he realized he had to focus on academics because he didn't want to, quote, wind up hanging out with guys who lacked purpose in life. Okay, let's unpack this.
It's a really striking story, honestly. And that phrase he uses, wind up, is just doing an immense amount of heavy lifting there. To really get why it works, we have to look at its physical origins.
Oh, like winding up a toy.
Exactly, yeah. Picture these 20th century physical objects that require twisting or turning to build tension. The sources mention things like a mechanical clock, or a musical toy, or even rolling up a really long ball of yarn.
Oh, wow, yeah. I immediately think of those old tin toys with the little metal keys on the back.
Right, the wind-up toys.
Yeah, you twist and twist and you're building all this kinetic energy and then you just let it go. And it's totally chaotic. It bounces off the walls and you really never know where it's going to stop.
That is a perfect analogy because you're building tension, pulling things in, and eventually the toy hits the mechanical limit of that tension. And when you do actions like rolling up yarn, you are physically gathering a timeline into a final state.
I just find the psychology of that so interesting. Like, a life path is invisible. You can't touch destiny.
No, you can't. So metaphorically, to wind up somewhere means you finally arrive at a specific situation or condition after a long series of events.
It totally makes me think of life as this messy ball of string.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You're constantly pulling at it, navigating through the knots of your 20s and 30s, and you don't know where the end of the string is going to land.
You really don't.
Which actually makes me want to ask you, the listener, right now, have you ever looked around your living room or your career and wondered how your own sequence of life events led you to this exact moment? Like, how did you wind up here?
And that element of unpredictability that dictates exactly when you should use the phrase. You use it to describe a final result that is slightly unexpected or unplanned.
Like it's the consequence of a really long process.
Right. The sources give a brilliant real-world example using Lupita Nyong'o.
Oh, her story is amazing. She was born in Mexico, raised in Kenya, and eventually she wound up in the U.S. at the Yale School of Drama.
Yeah, and think about why the sources highlight her. Wind Up is perfect there because her journey wasn't just a direct, simple flight.
No, it was super complicated.
It was a sequence unfolding over years, filled with different cultures, finally culminating in this highly specific destination.
It really honors the messy ball of yarn, But wait, let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
Let's test the boundaries. So if I intentionally get up and walk from my living room into the kitchen to grab a glass of water, can I tell my friends I wound up in the kitchen?
You could, but native speakers would look at you a bit funny.
Really? Why?
Well, the sources are super clear on this rule. You never use wind up for immediate, highly planned, or simple actions.
Oh, because there's no string to wind. Walking 10 feet doesn't have a narrative arc.
Exactly. The phrase demands the passage of time or an unfolding sequence of events. If the action is too simple, the brain rejects the metaphor entirely because there was no long journey or unexpected twist.
That makes perfect sense. But sometimes the place where we wind up isn't actually where we want to be.
That is very true.
Maybe that long sequence of events led to a dead end or a terrible mistake. So how do we reset the journey? That leads us directly into the second phrase today, wipe the slate clean.
And this is where we shift from clocks and tension to the historical classroom and the pub.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The sources have this target sentence where someone is encouraging a buddy who is frustrated by math. And they tell him to just wipe the slate clean and try new techniques together.
To understand the origin of that, you have to go back to before cheap paper or iPads. School children and actually pub owners used small, heavy tablets made of a dark gray rock.
Literal slate.
Literal slate, yes. They used it to write math problems or track bar tabs with chalk. And to get a fresh, blank surface for the next day or to fix a mistake, they literally used a cloth to wipe it clean.
I chuckle at the image of the pub owner. I want you, the listener, to just imagine the pure relief of a pub patron watching their massive bar tab literally get erased to dust.
It's an incredible image.
Just wiped away like it never existed.
And that powerful feeling of relief is why we still use it today. We use it for forgetting past mistakes or forgiving a friend, or even throwing away a bad draft to start over completely without any negative baggage.
Oh, so the lack of baggage is the key part.
Exactly. The sources highlight Steve Jobs returning to Apple in 1997. He and the board had to completely wipe the slate clean and forget all their past arguments just to save the company.
Wow, so they couldn't hold on to any of that metaphorical chalk dust. They just had to erase it and start fresh.
They had no other choice, really.
But wait, I have another pushback.
Let's hear it.
If wiping the slate clean is so powerful, what if a billionaire commits massive corporate fraud and steals from employees? Can't a judge just, wipe their slate clean?
This raises an important question. And the sources are incredibly strict about the limits of this phrase. You must never use it for serious legal crimes or massive financial debts or deep moral betrayals.
Oh, really? It doesn't work for big crimes?
No, because using it in those contexts minimizes the harm done. Strict accountability is required for those things. The phrase implies the mistake was superficial, just chalk on a rock.
Oh, wow. I see. So it treats a devastating crime like a schoolchild's math error.
Exactly. It's strictly reserved for interpersonal forgiveness, creative resets, or encouraging someone who is struggling with a harmless task.
That is such a crucial distinction. Okay, so synthesizing the big picture of this episode, we went from the winding tension of old clocks to the dusty gray rocks of old classrooms.
We really covered a lot of ground.
We did. And all of it helps us better understand our own paths of arriving, winding up, and starting over by wiping the slate clean.
I want to leave the listener with a final thought to ponder, though.
I'll tease you.
As technology advances, we are moving further away from mechanical clocks and chalkboards. Everything is digital now.
Right. It's all screens and swiping.
So how many of our daily phrases are actually just linguistic ghosts of physical objects we no longer use? And looking at your own life right now, is there a situation where you need to stop worrying about where you'll wind up and just focus on wiping the slate clean today?
Wow, what a fantastic question to leave off on. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep feeling proud of your real-world English skills.